Hello everyone and welcome to TekFlow for Government and Public Facilities, brought to you by Zentek Consultants. TekFlow is a recurring video cast where we focus on publicly accessible venues, right? And we talk about the best technology practices and procedures that we've been implementing for our clients here at Zentek. Whether it's schools, airports, municipal buildings, hospitals, restaurants, any public space that you deal with, we're going to talk to you guys about better ways to manage and control those using simple technologies you probably already own. I am Jim Coppinger, one of the principals here at Zentek Consultants, and today I want to talk to you guys about integrating forms and communication controls. It's one thing to put together, as we've been talking about in the previous episodes of this video cast series, to put together dashboards to help people find files, control files, get the information that they need. It's a great tool. But one of the real important things that we want to be able to do is not just direct people to the right location, but to also be able to communicate with them, to be able to collect data, whether it's from other people within your facility or your agency, or the public at large who might be visiting, these dashboard or websites that you guys are working with and integrating, right? To collect just about any kind of data that you're going to need to be able to get input into these PDF dashboarding forms and then distributed throughout your office. So let's talk about what we mean here, right? So we're talking about, collecting the data and integrating it with the dashboards that we've been talking about all as one unit, right? So let's go through some steps here. So the first thing we want to do is, we've talked about this before, right? Using linked maps, images, and buttons to drive people to the data and the processes that you need them to access, right? And one of the things that we've shown in previous setups is the idea of, using standard buttons and maps and things to open up items, right? So if I want to go in and I want to go to a website, right, I can, launch up any website and create a hyperlink, or I can go to a folder structure and show what files are in that folder structure, right? I can link to a map through a graphic or an image of any kind, whatever we want, whether it's a logo or a more advanced map, and continue those on. That's kind of the primary base function of dealing with dashboarding, right? It's about putting in, images and visual controls to take people to where you want them to go. But the next things that we want to get into is kind of integrating the other data that you see here, where we're going to actually be collecting information from people. All right, and the first one we're going to talk here is about the idea of using text entry and basic selection options that can be integrated directly into any of your dashboard control systems, right? It's really about simplifying that data collection process into something that is so easy anybody can use it. So, here I just have a couple of static examples that we're going to work with. So for whatever reason you're online, you've posted these PDF dashboards out online where people can access them, the public at large, and they're submitting some type of request, whether it's for an approval or a permit or some kind of a meeting date. You need to be able to know why they're submitting this request. So we can easily just put in a simple text box, right, where people can go in and, type, my typing's bad, type their reasons in this box. Okay, and they can continue on and continue to type as much as they need to throughout. Put paragraphs and paragraphs of information in here with no problem. Right? Anybody can just click in the field and type. Then what we can do is we can go in here and we can start to create selection buttons for people. In other words, if I want to go in, I want to know what the current submittal status is of whatever file or options or whatever function we're dealing with here. I can put in mutually exclusive radio buttons. So I say, hey, is this the initial status? Is it a revision, okay, to that status, right? Is it a resubmit of that status, right? Whatever it may be. And you see they're all mutually exclusive. One works and the other turns off. I can go from one to the other, right? But I can't go back, right, and have multiple setups. So I can control whether or not they're allowed to make multiple choices. Or maybe there are things where I can have multiple options, right? Maybe, if they're submitting some kind of a plan or they need an inspection or approval or something, they can say, hey, I've attached the plans and I need an inspection. Say I can have multiple selections and I need the approval, or I don't need the inspections. Right? So you can kind of mix and match all of these and integrate this all into one master dashboard where we're starting to develop and collect all of that information that everyone, in your office is going to need. Right? And the other things that we can do here is we can use built-in drop-down lists and signature fields, right, to kind of route and verify the data to make sure that it's going to be going to the correct locations, to the correct people, and that whoever's submitting the data is verifying that it's correct or accurate to the best of their ability. So just kind of coming back here, it's pretty straightforward. So we can go in, and what we can do is we can pre-populate. So in this example, right, the approving office. And you see I can just have people come in and choose which office this needs to be submitted to. Right? And when I do that, I can link that into all of my data submittals so that it goes to a specific email address or a specific person or a specific location in the Bloomfield office. And then that can change when they, select the Allendale office. Right? And then over here, we have the ability to integrate actual digital signatures, right, that we can tie into any kind of external signature verification system where people can just kind of click on it, right, put in their digital ID or connect to a thumb drive, whatever it may be. If we need to provide actual online digital IDs, we can certainly do that. Okay, so that's about routing and verifying the information that we're working with here to make sure that we're getting the correct data into the correct hands and that it's verifiable. And the last thing I wanted to kind of show you guys here today is this concept of using intelligent buttons to control the data that's going to get sent. Right? And what do I mean by that? So I'm going to jump back over here to my PDF and show you. So you see I've got two buttons that I've added down here, one for email attachment, right, and one for email data. So there's a difference. There are a number of different ways that we can do this. Once this has all been filled out, people fill out the form, right? They still have to get this data to you, right? So they can email this entire thing as an attachment. And you see that it will automatically put this PDF. It'll just bundle up all the data in that PDF, and it's already set to go to a specific email address. I can set subject lines. I can set whatever kind of information I want here so that all the data that's been collected just gets summarized and sent to a specific location or person as a PDF file. That's great. Works very, very easily. It's very simple. The only problem with that is that it does tend to require a lot of data storage space that way. There are other ways that we can do it. We can email just the data, and we can do it in CSV, XML formats, or the one that I actually like quite a lot because we're working very heavily with PDFs in this dashboarding concept, is emailing the data file, all right, or the FDF instead of a PDF. And what that does, it's going to come up and it's going to look very similar to what we did, but you'll notice that this is an FDF file. Instead of sending a full-blown PDF, which has all of the the text-based, the buttons, the graphics, the images, all the data that we've selected and chosen to include, all this is going to include, this is a dramatically smaller file, and all it's going to include are the data from these form fields, right? The reason for the request, what's the the submittal status, which options apply, was it signed, what office does it go to? All that basic information can be sent, right? And then it can be very easily, excuse me, what I was trying to say, on the receiving end. It's a much smaller file, and you can open up a standard template-based PDF and import the data. So in this way, you can keep one master PDF, and then if you're getting replies from 1,000 different people out in the general public, you can save each one of these with that person's name and then import them in mass into the PDF, right? Taking up dramatically less space and making sure that you've got the data for that specific person can be easily and quickly imported. Right? And again, it can also be done as HTML files for web-based use, XML, right? A whole lot of different ways that we can actually have the data that we develop on these systems kind of bundled up and sent to the right locations automatically. And that's really what I mean when we talk about data collection and dashboarding. I can integrate, right, file controls and data collection and communication all into one single integrated PDF, right, to really help drive the entire concepts that we're talking about here in our TekFlow for government and public facilities with the focus on dashboarding. And that's the kind of stuff we like to talk about. And we'll catch you in the next episode.